Lightweights up next here. Veteran Jim Miller comes in at plus 250. He takes on Jared Flash Gordon, who comes in at minus 300. Now, Miller is 42 years old, right? The only reason I believe he's on this card is the fact that he's from the area. He's from New Jersey. I believe he's from Hoboken, New Jersey, which is close enough, I guess, to the Prudential Center. But regardless, when you have a guy as popular, as tenured as Jim Miller, if he wants to fight on this card, you find him a fight. And that's exactly what we get this weekend. He is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Last time around, coming up short against Chase Hooper. It was a competitive first round, but it really started to seem like Hooper started to take over in the second and third rounds. And a fight that largely played out in the grappling realm, where Hooper was able to stay just a step ahead in a lot of these scrambles. Miller, nasty guillotine, just ask Damon Jackson. Decent power in his hands that could really surprise opponents, just ask Jesse Butler. But if he can't control the pace early, I think he really starts to struggle to have success later on in fights, just as we saw in the King Green fight, right? That was at UFC 300. Green was able to batter him from pillar to post for 15 minutes. Somehow Miller's durability managed to hold up and he was able to see the scorecards, but it was pretty clear that he ended up losing that fight. He's a fun fighter. He's been around forever. I watched him fight live way back at UFC 128 in March of 2011, which was the same night that John Jones won his first title in the light heavyweight division when he finished Shogun Hua. That night, Jim Miller TKO'd Kamal Shalarus in the third round of that matchup, and that was 2.5 years after he made his UFC debut. So he's been with the promotion since October of 2008, UFC 89. I'm sure half you guys that are watching this weren't even born when that happened. But still, fun fighter, and I'm glad that he's getting this opportunity, and I'm glad that the UFC is actually matching him up against a guy that's not overly at an advantage in terms of athleticism, strength, power, all that type of stuff. But he goes up against Jared Gordon this weekend, who is coming off of a knockout loss at the hands of Rafa Garcia back in September. Now, if you remember, going into that fight, Jared Gordon apparently got hit by a car. We saw him come into the cage with a knee sleeve. Obviously not a good look. He may have looked a little bit hampered by that instance. He still went out there and fought, but it was pretty clear that Garcia was ahead the entire time. With that said, Gordon is not a guy that relies on athleticism. He's not a guy that relies on speed or explosivity. He's a guy that just stays in your face, looks to break you down, try to find a finish late, or just win fights on the scorecards. But, in my opinion, he's a guy that's largely underachieved since being in the UFC. There's been a couple sketchy decisions that have kind of gone against him, right? The Paddy Pimblett one, the Nasrat Haqparast one. There's been other fights where he slipped up in the third round and ended up getting finished. He's a BJJ black belt, but I think his lack of athleticism and those physical traits has been what's kept him from getting to the next level in the lightweight division. But he's still a guy that's quite reliable to go out there and do what you expect him to do. Pressure, pace, power striking, grappling if he has enough of an advantage there as well, and really bringing it to his opponents. And most fights, he usually shows pretty good cardio as well. Now, going into this fight against Jim Miller, it makes sense why Gordon is minus 300, right? Even though he is 37 years old, at least he's not in his 40s. He also has the power to really cause Miller some issues. I think he has good enough grappling to keep Miller away from grinding this fight out. As long as Gordon's chin holds up, and Miller doesn't land a bomb that wobbles Gordon and puts him in, la-la land, I think Gordon can just dictate the pace of this fight, keep that pressure on Miller, put him in bad spots. He could even out-grapple him if he wants to. He can keep him on the ground and just muzzle him there. But I like Gordon here. I think he wins by decision. I think minus 300 is correct. If it gets any better than that, then I'll maybe be a little bit intrigued in terms of shooting on him. But it's just the durability that gives me a little bit of pause. Miller might be buoyed by the hometown crowd. Maybe he throws everything into his punches and catches Gordon off guard. That could absolutely happen here. But I'll still go with Gordon. I think he grinds this fight out. I think he wins it on the scorecards.